give you anything you like. You want free college, energy, mortgages, whatever you like. You have come to the right place. Why? I'll tell you why. Who can take your money?
Who can take your money?
With a twinkle in their eye.
A twinkle in their eye.
Take it all away and give it to some other guy. The government.
The government.
The government can.
The government can.
And who can tax the sunrise?
Who can tax the sunrise?
Who can tax the trees?
Who can tax the trees?
Let you run a business and collect up all the fees. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make to pay for all of their solutions. Healthcare, climate change, pollution. Throw away the Constitution. And who can give a bailout?
Who can give a bailout?
Tell us to behave.
Tell us to behave.
And make the founding fathers roll over in their grave. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
The government takes everything we make. They're power hungry and malicious. Their economics are fictitious. Soon we'll have to eat our dishes.
Delicious.
Oh, who can be a failure
Who can be a failure?
in so many ways?
In so many ways.
And instead of getting fired, hey, we'll give ourselves a raise. The government.
The government.
Oh, the government can.
The government can.
And the government can, 'cause they mix it up with lies and make it all taste good.
Make it all taste good.
And your Uncle Sam can, 'cause he mixes it with lies and makes it all taste good.
Hey, what's up, you filthy freaking animals? How you doing today? We're gonna talk about the next place that Elon Musk and Doge is not allowed to go and not allowed to look in the closets of. That's gonna be Fort Knox. Did you guys know that Fort Knox has not been audited in 50 years? Did you know that? Now, if you're around my age, you know Fort Knox has this aura around it. Fort Knox is always, it's like, in the movies and the action movies, oh, you can't take down Fort Knox. Oh, man, it's like the biggest fort in the world. It's like we had this built up in our heads as kids as Fort Knox being like the place. We used to pretend cops and robbers and be like, we're taking Fort Knox. It's just, maybe newer kids that you don't know nothing about Fort Knox. So let me educate you. All right, you ready to get into this? Let's do it. Now, I'm not going to go crazy and do a deep dive, but let's just touch briefly on why our gold is in Fort Knox and how that happened. So after the Great Depression, Roosevelt felt like people were hoarding their gold and not using it. See, money and gold used to be interchangeable. The gold standard, you might hear the phrase, the gold standard. The gold standard, when you really boil it down, it really was just money was worth gold, gold was worth money. They were interchangeable, they were the same. So in 1933, Roosevelt outlawed the private ownership of gold, basically forcing everyone to get rid of their gold. Ultimately, the Treasury built the depository in 1936 on land transferred to it from the military. Its purpose was to house gold then stored in New York City and Philadelphia, in keeping with the strategy to move gold reserves away from the coastal cities to areas less vulnerable to foreign military attack. So the idea behind Fort Knox and the other places we house gold is to protect it from foreign attack. If we were ever attacked, invaded, whatever it is, we have our gold on army bases, protected, blah, blah, blah. Just to give you a quick synopsis of it, and yes, I am reading to you. Feel free to make fun of me. It's fine. So Fort Knox is a highly fortified vault on a U.S. Army base. It's surrounded by security measures like fences, alarms, and Apache helicopters, basically our military. The vault itself is made of concrete and granite and reinforced with steel. In 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the Gold Act, which outlawed private ownership of gold. In 1935, the Treasury Department announced plans to build a gold depository at Fort Knox. In 1936, Congress passed the Deficiency the Deficiency Act, which established the bullion depository. In 1937, the first shipment of gold arrived at Fort Knox by train. Fort Knox is one of the largest gold repositories in the world. It's also considered one of the most secure places on Earth. Now, you can feel however you want to feel about Roosevelt outlawing private gold ownership. We can have a whole video about that. That's not what this is about. Ultimately, the final nail in the coffin with how we look at money and gold was in 1971 with what they called the Nixon shock, which was a decision in August 1971 where we officially went away from the gold standard, which was Nixon basically put in the law to where money can no longer be exchanged for gold. And what does that tell you? That tells you that gold no longer backs our money, and that money doesn't equal gold, and gold does not equal money. So you see how they tried to save the country from depression, and Roosevelt said, "Yo, you can't hold gold anymore. You have to sell it to us. Then we'll hide it all and not let foreign places ever take our gold, and we'll always have that money." Then in the 70s, Nixon, because of worries of inflation, said, "Well, we can no longer exchange gold for money and money for gold. Paper and gold don't mix." Now, we can talk all day about what the real motivations were behind Roosevelt doing what he did after the Great Depression and getting rid of the gold standard, if this was all just a big ruse to steal all the gold in the country. I don't know, dude. I'm just some guy. Ultimately, Nixon was trying to fight inflation, and he basically said, "I'm worried that if other nations demanded gold from us and not money, we wouldn't have the gold for foreign enterprises, foreign projects, our defense, whatever the case is across the world." So he outlawed the exchange of money, cash money, for gold. At that point, we stopped auditing the money in Fort Knox, which is kind of strange, right? To be technical, the gold standard, this is just straight from AI overview. The gold standard was an international monetary system where a country's currency was fixed to a specific amount of gold. While it offered price stability and fiscal discipline, it was inflexible and vulnerable to gold supply shocks. So the Nixon shock was also included wage and price freezes, surcharges on imports, and a 10% tariff on all dutiable imports. But the focus is on Fort Knox. Let's stay there. So since Roosevelt and Nixon did what they did, there's only a couple places our treasury keeps our gold. This is in the millions of ounces. Fort Knox, 147 million, Denver Mint, 54 million, New York SA office, whatever they are. It's irrelevant. The big one is Fort Knox.
For far too long, the United States government has been less than transparent in releasing information relating to its gold holdings. Not surprisingly, this secrecy has given rise to a number of theories about the gold at Fort Knox and other depositories. Some people speculate that the gold has been involved in gold swaps with foreign governments or bullion banks. Others believe that the gold has secretly been shipped out of Fort Knox and sold, and still others believe that the bars at Fort Knox are actually gold-plated tungsten.
So Ron Paul and Rand Paul. They've been calling for this stuff for a long time. Now, just recently, because of what DOGE is doing, Senator Rand Paul, we're going to check out an article. Link will be in the description for this Gateway Pundit article. Senator Rand Paul calls for first Fort Knox gold audit in 50 years, taps Elon Musk DOGE for verification. FOIA request shows 7 out of 13 previous audits reportedly missing. So if you didn't know, this is why I talked about previously those dates. Now, 1971, Nixon officially said, we're doing the gold standard. We're done with that. No, don't even sell, no more cash for gold. That's not a thing. Stop. Then we did a series of audits, 13 audits between 1974 and 83, something like that. And with normal FOIA requests, a gentleman reached out and tried to do and found that 7 out of 13 of the reports are missing. They don't even have them, guys. Yeah. So they're talking on X, and it's like it would be great if Elon Musk could take a look inside Fort Knox just to make sure the 4,580 tons of U.S. gold is still there. Last time anyone looked was 50 years ago in 1974. Musk quickly responded, "Surely it's reviewed at least every year," to which Rand Paul fired back with the truth bomb, "Nope, let's do it." And then Elon Musk went on to say that he's going to do a live stream. He wants to set it all up, get all the authorizations that we need to go through Fort Knox, and he wants to do a live stream on X to show the American people if there's gold there and have it tested. And it's not just the Pauls. It's just not, libertarian-minded people asking for these types of reviews. In 2021, former Rep. Alex Mooney proposed a bill aimed at auditing America's gold reserves. The legislation sought a comprehensive essay inventory and audit of all U.S. gold holdings, as well as detailed reporting on all gold transactions involving the U.S. Given the dramatic levels of debt-financed spending by the federal government and the potential this could trigger an inflationary nightmare, ensuring America's gold reserves are both secure and fully accounted for has never been more important, wrote Rep. Mooney in his letter. At the same time, Russia and China are presently accumulating physical gold at a rate that experts believe could soon threaten the financial dominance of the United States and, by extension, our national security, Mooney continued. The bill is still sitting in Congress. So he proposed that in 2021. It's still sitting in Congress. There's not even a vote has happened with it. It's just why this is the point of the video, guys. Look what happened. The Depression happened. Roosevelt made choices. I get it. Nixon made further choices with the relation between paper money and gold. And then in the direct few years directly after that decision by Nixon, not only did we do a weird string of 13 audits for our gold reserves, in which 7 of the 13 reports are lost, missing, or no longer available, whatever the explanation is, and then we just decided to stop doing the audits after that. There's going to be something there. I just don't know if it's going to be gold or what. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I've been trying to go down and see the gold, make sure it's all there for about 10 years. During the first Trump administration, I got permission. You have to get permission all the way up to the Secretary of Treasury. And then the Secretary of Treasury said, well, I want to go down there too. And then he said, I want to go down there when the eclipse is coming through Kentucky too, so I can see the eclipse and the gold at the same time. But they came when I wasn't there. So I tried for 10 years. I set up the appointment. And then because they wanted to see the eclipse, they changed the appointment. I didn't get to go down. But the Secretary of Treasury and the senior senator from Kentucky did go down and attest that they believe they saw the gold down there.
So what do you think the problem is?
I think some of them may not think it needs to be audited all the time, but I think the more sunlight, the better, more transparency, the better. Yeah. And also it brings attention to the fact that gold still has value, and implicitly, not explicitly, but implicitly, gold still gives value to the dollar. Yeah. That's why we don't get rid of it. We've got it. The IMF has it. The World Bank has it. Most of the central banks around the world have gold, and it's an implicit trust that the dollar still has some back.
Why is it so hard to see this gold? Why is it so hard to obtain the last previous audits of this gold? It's not going to be enough to just show us a live stream or a video of gold or bars or anything like that in Fort Knox without some sort of independent verification, removing those gold bars and making sure that they're all real. I don't know how to even begin to function something like that. And I'm going to leave you with this, okay? I don't know how real this is. I don't know. I don't know who stole all the gold out of Fort Knox. I don't know if it was slowly siphoned off over years and years. I don't know if it was one big gigantic heist where they pulled it all out of there. I'll leave you with this old video. Feel free to research this and look into it all you want, though. Ultimately, I'm looking forward to this. I don't care if it destroys everything we ever believed in. If you believe in bullshit, do you want to continue believing bullshit, or would you rather let's just rock our worldview now and get it over with, and let's just figure this thing out? It is what it is. All right, I'll see you soon. Oh, and I'll mention again, don't forget, description, links, the Gateway Pundit articles down there, the videos are down there I used, anything you want to look into, all that stuff's down there. Check it out.
So just how did the story of the Fort Knox gold robbery get out?
It all started with an article in a New York periodical in 1974. The article charged that the Rockefeller family was manipulating the Federal Reserve to sell off Fort Knox gold at bargain basement prices to anonymous European speculators. 3 days later, the anonymous source of the story, Louise Auchincloss Boyer, mysteriously fell to her death from the window of her 10th floor apartment in New York. How would Mrs. Boyer have known of the Rockefeller connection to the Fort Knox gold heist? She was the longtime secretary of Nelson Rockefeller.
Forgot to include the most important question. What do you think? Do you think that the gold is in Fort Knox? Do you think that it's all there? Do you think it's real gold? Did the Rockefeller family steal it? Did the Soros family steal it? Did they all steal it together? Was it all just one big heist? Were they all in on it with the presidents? And that's what basically launched into the deep state and everything that continues today? I don't know. You tell me. Tell me in the comments. Let me know.
I really like your shirt.
So I'd like to talk about where you think there's waste within your department.
Where do
There
I
is
start?
none.
What exactly will you be cutting? And how much of it? And can I watch you do it while eating pork cracklings?
Okay, let's start with personnel. Okay, you need to understand that just to keep this town afloat, we probably have to cut the budget of every department by 40 or 50%, okay?
Well, but Chris said that you just had to, tinker with things.
Yeah, he said that because that sounds a lot better than we're going to gut it with a machete, okay?